Hey, good morning. This is me building a $3 million a year business in public. I document every step in my daily updates channel. The way I do things is I start with some YouTube comment Q&A just to deliver you guys some value and then get myself some engagement right off the bat. Then I build and strategize in public before finally showing you guys growth across YouTube, Instagram, and products in case you ever wanted to do something similar. So this is my main channel here, a very ostentatious and attention-grabbing video that I posted earlier, 182.5K subs. And then this over here is my daily updates channel. And what I do to answer those questions, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is I scroll all the way down to the community tab on YouTube, which just compiles all of the comments on all my videos. And I just start from the bottom and work my way up. Okay. So the bottom is Red Knight World, who says, "Hey Nick, I'm just starting out. Regarding picking a niche, I just started working as a real estate agent here in Romania, and I managed to scale my own portfolio to 1 mil in properties in the first 2 weeks of me starting out. The average price for a home here is 75K. Now here's my question. Should I target real estate agents as my niche? I'm asking because in this niche, I have the only social proof available. I know you said the best niches are something digital like creative agencies, etc. So this is why I'm asking if real estate would be a good niche. And if you're in my shoes, what would you do? To be clear, I don't know exactly what the social proof refers to. Did you just like take $1 million and then purchase $1 million of properties in 2 weeks? Is that how you got your portfolio to 1 million? Or did you approach a bunch of people and then are essentially like a syndicate that is syndicating these real estate purchases? Depending on that, I think you'll have different levels of social proof. When I hear portfolio to $1 million in property, I'm not really thinking anything super impressive, to be clear. Still, it is a dollar sign, so it is some good social proof. Okay, so generally speaking, what you want in a niche is you want 3 things. You want to be something that you are good at. You want to be something that pays well and is accessible, then something you have some sort of social proof in, okay? Now, if you're a beginner, let's just cross that puppy out. No, ain't no way you're going to be good at it, but you can still get you can still get 2 out of 3 of these. Pays well. So generally speaking, you want to sell to people that are typically digital because margins are just higher in digital. You don't have to deal with like physical real world things like logistics, delivery, inventory, rent, so on and so forth. So go digital. It's also much easier to scrape those leads. And then 2, you want something that you have social proof in, as in you could say, hey, I've done this impressive thing in your industry. That's why you should trust me. And that's why I'm different from all the other 8 million people that are reaching out to you. So this is that, right? Pays well. I mean, I think that's kind of up in the air. Depends on the specific submarket of real estate agents you work with. Good example. About 5 years ago, I met a guy that does luxury real estate sales in LA and then Beverly Hills specifically. And I think he made over $75 million last year. So that is a guy with money. That's a guy who could probably pay you well for services rendered. But if you want to work with every little hinky-dink real estate agent out there, probably not, right? But anyway, hope that makes sense. Hey, Nick, appreciate your videos. Thanks so much for doing this. Want us to know how many Upwork proposals do you recommend sending every day at minimum? If you're doing the Upwork approach, I recommend 10 per day. Don't sweat it. Don't overcomplicate it. Just have some threshold like 10 and stick to it. Glad to hear you had fun. Thank you very much. Can you do a series helping one of your subscribers make his first $1,000? Why don't I get a check? You can choose randomly someone that doesn't have any experience with social proof. You make with him a series or one video showing how to do everything. There are probably like 3 women that watch these videos, obviously, which is why he's saying this. But I think I'm just going to screw with you and I'm going to find a very ambitious entrepreneurial woman and I'm going to have her do the first $1,000. How about that, huh? What are you going to do then? That can be your test subject. It was very inspiring for us. It'll give us the belief in the way to do it. Think about it. I get where you're coming from here. Yeah, I think I could do something like that. The only issue is it takes a lot of time to make a video of that nature, right? I mean, because I got to coach the person, jump on multiple calls, help them work through the limiting beliefs. That video might take me 10 hours, realistically. Whereas a video where I just talk about something I know really well and I'm really good at, that might take me half an hour or something, right? So just think about it, I can do those. I just do them at a rate of about 1 to 20x what I'm doing with talking head videos. Nick, how do we connect N8N to a Meta developer's account? Been trying to connect it for 2 weeks. Keeps telling me the URL or verification code is incorrect. This is interesting. I don't know what you mean by verification code, but I don't know. N8N Meta developer. Let's see. Is there a face? Are you talking about the graph? You're probably talking about the graph API, right? Yeah, you're probably talking about the graph API. The graph API is a pain in the ass, but you got to create a Meta app and then generate an app access token. As you can see, I've actually done this. That's why the links are purple. I have a video, I think, where I show you guys how to do this. I don't know for sure. Do I want to spend 10 minutes doing this? I don't think this would be a good use of people's time, to be honest. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm going to do that. Yeah, Facebook lead ads trigger right over here. I don't think I'm going to do that. Sorry. Can we just sad face this and then move on? I want you to know it's possible because people do it. There was a guy whose video I watched forever ago that shows this. So I will just leave it there. Facebook Graph API N8N. A lot of videos here. This might have been the one right over here. Actually, give that a check. Yeah, I don't like pointing people to resources that aren't mine, but I think that's probably the straight assigned path in your scenario. Paul, good to see you again. Thank you, man. Paul's now in Maker School. Just set up a bunch of profiles, everything like that. Just want to ask, you can guarantee growth. I can't really guarantee growth, but I could do like a full money back offer, I would say. Yeah. So, you can offer a guarantee, but can you guarantee growth? No, you can guarantee growth, or, you have some risk mitigation where you give them their money back, but you don't have a crystal ball. You can't actually look into the future, right? Obviously, you could, with high probability, express confidence that you will deliver somebody growth. But yeah, the guarantee of the growth is whether you can actually 100% say that you will make somebody grow. Like, that's just you pulling stuff out of your ass, to be honest. So how can you guarantee growth? I would just always have some risk mitigation. Okay. In the Diary of a CEO with Alex, Cody, and Daniel. So I was mentioned in Diary of a CEO, which is pretty cool. They didn't mention me by name. I imagine, probably for good reasons. Maybe there's some legal reasons behind it, or maybe he just didn't want to shout me out, which I understand. You don't really just want to be a walking billboard for a bunch of other people with a brand that big, right? But anyway, Alex mentioned he learned AI integrations for small businesses, specifically reactivating email lists. Is this something you teach in Maker School? Yeah. Do you have videos or recommendations on YouTube? Thanks. Appreciate the daily updates. Yeah, the reactivation of an email list is big. I think a lot of people right now are doing outbound personalization, but what they don't realize is you can also do inbound personalization. What I mean by that is when you're running a newsletter, if your newsletter says, "Hello, reader, back this week with another update," the click-through rate on that newsletter is going to be lower than if it said something like that. Like, "Hey, John, saw you just published XYZ recently. Great work sticking to it. In this week's newsletter, wanted to share with you how I can help, blah, blah, blah." Like, obviously, the second one's going to have a much higher click-through rate, right? So that's pretty big. You can reactivate email lists with inbound stuff, assuming you know what the person is doing, assuming you have some additional fields that maybe they fill out, some questionnaire, some brief, which a lot of people do before an email list. So that's a big chunk of it. Another thing is just like client reactivation. Like, you have a big pre-existing client book of business, right? If you run an agency or something like that, or you've ran another business, well, you will have clients that you can just reactivate. Those clients you've already crossed the first hurdle with them, which is you've demonstrated that there is a return on their investment from working with you, right? And a lot of the time, that's all you need. A lot of the clients that I have money and they're willing to spend it. They just need somebody that is capable of making a good case to them as to why, if they spend it with me in this specific scenario, I will make them money. So if I have clients for which I've already crossed that first trust and authenticity and business-minded hurdle, then yeah, I can definitely just reactivate them on any additional service, upsell, cross-sell, downsell, do whatever the hell I want with them, right? So that's a very simple automation. You just go through CRM. For every record, you just pull up a bunch of fields again, personalize some outbound, and then you pitch them the system. Omar says, "Hey, Nick, hope you're doing well. How do you deal with procrastination and focusing on the wrong things? I don't want to be a failure, but I admit that I procrastinate a lot, and I won't get anywhere that way. Love the content, keep killing it." I think to some degree, procrastination is inevitable. I think the human brain just does it. I think it's just like a mechanism that is baked into us from our proverbial caveman years. And yeah, I don't think you'll be able to fully eliminate it. So I procrastinate pretty often. I think the difference is I just always procrastinate with work. If I'm procrastinating on a thing, then I will procrastinate with some lower value thing. And it's not ideal because I'm procrastinating on something important and needs to get done, but I am procrastinating on it with something else that is marginally more fun or easier or whatever. Good example is I've been procrastinating making a hiring post for quite a while. So yesterday I finally made a hiring post to find writers to help me create content. I'm growing on all these different social media platforms now. Well, the one core nugget that all other content comes from is the written word, right? If you have written word content, you can make video content. Then you could repurpose that written word content for shorter form content. Yeah, you can do anything as long as you have written word ideas as the core nugget. So I need somebody to help me with that. I was procrastinating on that for 2 weeks, realistically, just shuffling my feet and being I don't really want to do this. The actual task took me 45 minutes. I made a hiring post in my communities, made a form, routed that form to a CRM where I store my inbound applicants, and then boom, that was it. But yeah, I was procrastinating on it for a while. That said, it's not that I just didn't do anything in those 2 weeks. I did a lot, right? I just did less important tasks. So I still moved the needle in a way. Matthew gives me a fire. Tezza says, "I was reading a journal entry somewhere. You said you would trade profit for knowledge." Yes, I think I would now. I would not before. Before I would definitely trade knowledge for profit. That's more or less what I've been doing. But now I'm just at such a good place, financially speaking, that yeah, I just want to get back to being a curious a man again, you know? Like when you, like in business, what you end up doing is you end up always like calculating the cost of your time. And you're like, if there's a task in front of me and it is less than the cost of my time, then I should not do it. I should only do tasks that are worth more than the cost of my time. So if I can make $10,000 in an hour, and then you give me a task which will only make me $5,000 in that hour, should I spend an hour doing it? No, logically not, because there would be an opportunity cost of 10,000 minus 5,000 equals negative $5,000 associated with that. The issue with this is when you work, especially as I do from home, everything quickly becomes an opportunity cost calculation. And so what I used to do is I used to just read books and really enjoy the books. Or I used to consume a lot of content or fiction or I don't know. Sometimes I'd go down various rabbit holes and I'd learn how, I don't know, transistors worked. Why? Because it was just really interesting to me. But nowadays I can't really justify that because I think, the hour that I spent learning how this random thing works with, limited applicability to the rest of my life is going to be worth less money than if I just worked. And so I kind of fell into this little trap for the better part of the last couple of years. And it's a trap that I imposed myself. It's a trap that I walked into willingly, where I just traded all of that sort of fun hobby interest time for money. And it's made me a ton of money. But now that I'm on the other side of things and I've satisfied that money need, I'm kind of like, wonder if I could get back to helping satisfy that curiosity need. So that is what you are referencing. I read that in my journal just a few weeks ago. Around that age, I was reading 2 books a week. Yes, I was. I want to learn more, but also living in this world, I do need the almighty dollar. If you are 16 years old right now, current date, what would you do? I'm in a similar situation where you didn't like the way school taught math. Update, I'll focus on profit right now, then I have some decent money, or I'll allocate some hours to do so. Okay, so I guess, Tesla's a young, ambitious man, and he's looking to know how best to spend his time. I think if I were you, I'd probably just get a job doing something that's marginally related to what we talk about here. Some job doing some sales-based activity. When I was 16, I worked at the Hammer game at the Pacific National Exhibition, which was the carnival, and I mentioned that in a previous story. But basically, I just sat around with a microphone, and then when people would walk by, I would just yell at them and basically just make fun of them until they would come play my game. Like a girl and a guy would walk by, and then I'd say like, "Hey, you gonna win your big man a prize?" To the girl. And that kind of breaks the norm. And then the girl's like, "Ooh, yeah, I'll win you a prize." And then she spends $5 and then gets a tiny inflatable hammer that's worth 33 cents. And my job is done. So I learned a lot of sales skills there. And those are sales skills that are now directly making me money. Doesn't seem like it at the time, but yeah. The thing is, if I had just started a business, I would not have had anywhere near as much exposure to those sales opportunities. I mean, I got to do this for 8 hours a day for like a good 3 months of my life. It was like my summer job, right? I mean, how many days is that realistically? It's about 60 days times 8 hours. So let's just say 7 hours. So about 420 hours that summer of directed sales. That was pretty great. I don't think you're going to get 420 hours of directed sales in a 3-month period if you are forced to generate your opportunities yourself as a young 16-year-old business owner. So that's probably what I would do. That just throws you into a situation where you are earning while learning. The earning is less important than the learning. Okay, F1D142 says, what are your thoughts on a startup versus a service-based business? Yeah, my thoughts are pretty simple. Generally, just going to zoom way out of here. Damn, man, that is going really big. Generally speaking, the way that I always see things now is, I don't know why we can't see these lines till after I'm done drawing it. On the left-hand side here, you have money. And then underneath here, you have time. So let's just say that this is agency or service business, sorry. And then this is SaaS. The way that a SaaS works is you trade a lot of early money for later money. And so what happens is you muddle around for the first, let's say this is a year. For the first year and you make very little money, and then you find some sort of product market fit, and then you take off like a rocket ship, okay? If you contrast that to an agency, what you do is basically immediately the second you start, you get to grow. But then what you do is you traded it for future growth, because services require people, and people are just difficult to manage, and there are ups and downs associated. What that means is at the same time period with an agency, you could have generated 50 times the money. Let's say this is $1 mil. If you had done your little ramen startup here, you would have made, I don't know, $100K in the same time period. You would have made 10 times as much with the agency. But then once the SaaS takes off, you get to make way more money for also way less time spent. Because this whole period is you're investing in the product. And the product eventually gets so good that it doesn't actually require people to fulfill. It's fully automated, right? Whereas with an agency, what you do is basically you invest in management and org structure. And so, this sort of inflection point occurs, and I don't know how long it occurs. It's a different time period for different types of businesses and depends on your success as a business owner. But yeah, that's the trade-off. So what is the optimal approach? My optimal approach is you actually start with the service business first. Why do you start with the service business first? Because it gets you money. So you can stop just like dreaming and start actually working with clients and like getting experience and learning how to manage money and all that stuff. Okay. And then after a while, what you do is you take that service and then you turn it into a managed service and then eventually a product. So you guys ever hear of Instantly? It's a cold email platform that I'm an affiliate for. And I think I made like 10 grand last month just from Instantly. So thank you very much, founders of Instantly. I've made you way more money, obviously, but that's the value of the product. They started off as an agency selling cold email services. And then they did this. They made a ton of early money. And then somewhere along the line, they were like, hey, wait a second. This is starting to take a lot of time to fulfill, and we're not really growing like we used to way back over here. So what should we do? And they had the idea that they're going to make a SaaS product. So then they made a SaaS, and then they had some down ticks and stuff, kind of a prolonged version of this graph. But then eventually what ended up happening was then they also found product market fit, and then they got to scale. So what happened here? They got the benefits of both. They got both the service, immediate income from providing services. Then they got the crazy scalability of providing a SaaS. And I think that's really the play that I would recommend for most people today. Okay, let's do one more. Could you sorry, I skipped a question. Hey, Nick, I've gone through your Insta page and the reels are very helpful, but I want to ask about your background music that you use. It's something you made. Can you reply to me and tell me about it? Yeah, I think I use MusicBed for my music. I think it's a service that just, gives me access to a ton of licensable music, and then I got the license with it. So you need to do this with licensed music on YouTube. Otherwise, you have like monetization claims and copyright strikes and stuff. So the service I use is called MusicBed. Well, actually, I have like 2 or 3 services, I believe, but this is the one that I think you're referring to. And then, there's just there's a ton of music on it. So like you could probably just Shazam it and find the specific song. I don't know what it is. I've just given it to my editor. We use a bunch of different songs now. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, guys, so I'm going to leave it there on the Q&A side because now it's been 15 minutes. Why don't we move over to my brand stats? Brand stats being where I just track my growth across tons of platforms. So my Instagram is now at 325,660. So let's just paste that in. My main channel here, if I just give this a refresh, so 182,560. Put that over here. We've grown a little bit, and then the daily updates channel, if we go to the dashboard, is now at 13,079, which is up about 0.74%. And let's just extend the date. Cool. What am I seeing here? This growth hasn't really gone up too much with that video, which is unfortunate. Let's just see how many subscribers did that last really crazy video get me. Marginal uptick in subscribers from 583 to 720, so not super successful. And then let's actually see how many core subs did we get just from this video. 121. That kind of makes sense, right? Mathematically. Doesn't look like this is going to catch on to search. We only have 3.9%. So this is definitely like a browse feature thing. And my browse feature videos always look like this, like always. So that's unfortunate. We're probably not going to see too much growth after this. Are we plateauing? Oh, actually, we're seeing kind of an uptick again. This continues, then the growth will continue. Oh, I think I can expect probably like 25,000 views over the course of the next couple of days. That's not that bad. All right. Anyway, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I keep forgetting to take my vitamins. It's kind of annoying. It's a very small thing, but I've come to realize that, I have this big vitamin stack. A part of my goals was to, help improve my health and get into like supplementation and stuff like that. And I put them all in this little container. And, it's stuff like magnesium and zinc and whatnot, just whatever you need for like healthy male body, as well as some stuff that's kind of specific to me. I have this liver condition, so this helps me with like manage my liver condition. I didn't realize I could like help manage it, and it's helped. But man, is it just like a lot of pills? Damn, that's like 6 things I got to take every day. And I'm just like, that's a lot of pills. I really don't like swallowing all of them. So that kind of sucks. I looked back at my habit tracker, and I just realized like I haven't taken them for like 5 days. And then now my back's aching and like my joints are starting to hurt again. This stuff actually helps with all of that, right? Like that's the whole point of the stack. So I was actually making some tremendous health progress, and I was getting pretty thick and chunky and pretty ripped in a good way. But I just stopped taking them because of the friction. So I need to find a way to solve that. Maybe I just need to like, I don't know, have like a glass of ice cold crispy water right next to them. And just like every morning I wake up, I see that and I'm like, ooh, ice crispy water and supplements. Okay, fine. I'll take both. I don't know. I need some sort of habit stacking there because the rest of my habits are great, right? Like all of my work related habits are easy enough and in tune enough that like I can get up, go, and then do them all. But some of these health habits, man. So anyway, yeah, the gym's going pretty well. If I could just cover that with you guys briefly. One of my major goals this year is just to improve my health and then get to a point where, I'm in the best shape of my life. So that's a little far away still, unfortunately. But my shoulder is recovered from the brachial neuropathy or whatever it's called, which is nice. Brachial neuritis, I should say. And, I did some shoulder press the other day. The rack pulls are definitely getting up there. Yeah. I went from like being very mindful of the weight on my mid back because of some previous injuries. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start with the plate. And like within like a week, I was like, all right, screw that. So I added a couple more plates and we're making some solid progress there. And yeah, sleep's been pretty good. So just thought I'd cover some health stuff with you guys today. I'll cover some stories later, but I got to jump on a weekly community call. Starts in 1 minute. Thank you guys very much for watching as per usual. And I will see all y'all tomorrow.